Welcome back. Well, Tiger Brands, South Africa's biggest consumer foods maker, has reported a 1.6% rise in full-year profit as it refocuses on its slow-growing home market after a costly foray into the rest of Africa. Tiger Brands reported headline earnings per share of 2,161 cents for the year to end September, compared with 2,127.1 cents a year ago. Revenue rose 2% to 31.3 billion rand. South Africa's economy has stalled in recent years amid weak business and consumer sentiment, and the government has halved its economic growth forecast to 0.7% for this year. The company, which makes bread, breakfast cereals, and energy drinks, completed a strategic review earlier this year under McDougall after heavy losses in Nigeria. Tiger Brands sold the bulk of its Nigerian business to Dangote flour mills in 2015 and has also pulled back from East Africa as part of the review. The food maker expects the competition for market share in South Africa to intensify in 2018 as consumers check spending on a weak economy. And Chad's stalled talks with Glencore on restructuring more than $1 billion in debt due to the trading firm has delayed the release of IMF funds for the struggling Central African country until at least early next year. The International Monetary Fund says Chad's external commercial debt, most of which is to Glencore, was unsustainable as it eats up most of the country's oil revenues. The fund approved just over $300 million in credit for Chad at the end of June. The IMF initially released $48.8 million to Chad, but said the release of further funds would depend on progress reports at subsequent meetings. Negotiations are likely to be further delayed after President Idris Deby sacked his finance minister Christian Georges Dembaye and the deputy. A Chadian government official said a mid-November deadline for Chad to report progress on commercial debt talks to the IMF was missed, and IMF funds would not be released until early 2018. And back here, Nigeria is ramping up plans to boost its tax-to-GDP ratio of 6% through an initiative called Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme, VADES. The program, which has seen some 5 million responses from the taxpayers, promises huge benefits for partakers. At a meeting with tax professionals in Lagos, one of the tax consultants engaged to drive the initiative, Taiwo Oyedele, explains the benefits of the program.
What are the benefits of participating in this scheme? There was an executive order that was signed and is still existing. And it's very clear that one, no penalty, no interest. And Ayo made the point. If you say no interest, don't start dividing the period to say 31st December and then the rest of it. But the idea is to encourage people to come forward and pay if they can afford to pay. If you're unable to pay, you are still using government money. You've used it for so long. We don't want you to use it for free anymore. So from January next year, it means that you pay with interest, but that interest should be prorated. Then you have immunity. That's the way they put it, to immunity from audit. In other words, if you declare properly and honestly and completely under VADES, and we're happy with you, then you will not be audited for those declarations. Maybe somebody would then come forward and say, well, the order says audit, not investigation. You tell them and say, well, I did this based on trust. As far as I'm concerned, investigation is a form of an audit. Do you agree? So you tell them to go back. We cannot say one thing and do a different thing. You would save interest of around 19% because MPR is 14. Government had added 5 as a spread based on the FRS Establishment Act. For the states, some of them have up to 21%, so you save that to some extent. There will be no prosecution even if you couldn't explain the source of your income and assets. And your information will be treated in strict confidence. It's confidential. It will not be volunteered to any other agency of government such as the EFCC. But of course, if there's a court order that says release the information for whatever reasons, we have to comply because it's good to follow due process. Would I be able to transfer my assets in case they are in nominee's name? Yes. Once you've done the right thing by paying the taxes, please feel free to transfer the assets to your name. The risk of losing them is very high if the legal owner is the driver or the maid. Anything can go wrong. Pay the tax now and rectify. Do it properly. What type of taxes are covered? All taxes. Personal income tax, corporate income tax, VAT, withholding tax, PPT, CGT, stamp duty levy, land use charge, all taxes are covered. Which period is covered? 6 years, from 2011 to 2016. But bear in mind that even though we have statutes of limitation in the tax law, it's only when you make errors. If it's fraudulent, willful default, or neglect, we can go back beyond 6 years. But here's the thing. Under VAT, if you do the 6 years honestly, completely, and faithfully, we will not go back beyond 6 years, even though the declaration you did not make before was fraudulent. So that's an additional benefit. But if you don't do that 6 years properly, then the tax authorities have the right to go back beyond 6 years. Who is entitled to participate? Everyone. Individuals, corporates, trusts, executors, incorporate souls, everybody that is liable to tax in Nigeria in whatever form or shape. Okay, where can one get information about VAT? I'm on question 11, just in case you're looking for where I am. You can get information about VAT from www.vat.gov.ng. That's all.
And finally on the program, an attempt by Congo's Glencore mine to profit from the boom in battery metals has backfired, leaving the state-owned miner facing 2 international court actions and halting cobalt production at a key mine. Glencore Mines blocked its 16-year partner GTL's access to the cobalt site in the southeastern Congolese town of Lubumbashi in March to make way for a new investor as prices for the metal soared. The attempt to switch one partner for the other has resulted in both parties taking legal action against the state-owned company for breach of contract. Jersey-registered GTL, a joint venture in which closely held Group Forest International has a 70% stake and Glencore Mines holds 30%, is suing Glencore Mines in the commercial court in Brussels for damages. The court schedule means no more cobalt is likely to be produced at the site until at least 2020 if there isn't a settlement. And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimize Obi Iwabo.